welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Dr. David Hooper, and today we have someone truly special joining us. It's my pleasure to welcome Katie Goronski to the show. Katie's 23 from Australia, and when I saw Katie's openness and honestness, I just had to get her on the show because her story just completely caught my eye. And despite facing numerous setbacks and challenges, Katie shifted her mindset. She's turned setbacks into stepping stones for growth and is now thriving. And Katie, I am so excited to welcome you to the show.
Thank you so much. That's really kind. Pleasure to be here.
Katie, amazing to have you with us. I'm so excited. The first question I always ask every guest is basically linked to the title of the podcast. So it's all about helping introverts becoming unstoppable. And what does being unstoppable look like to you?
I think it's about trusting yourself enough to just go after what you want, knowing that either way it will work out for you. Because even if it doesn't go the way that you think it is, you're learning from it, and that's a catalyst for growth. It's not failure. You only can win. So just do what you want.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. And especially that approach towards failure. And as long as you don't quit and keep on going, nothing is a failure. So you just keep going.
Yeah.
No, I really like that. Yeah, absolutely. And Katie, for those who maybe haven't come across you yet, and this is their first taste of Katie, how would you kind of introduce yourself to those listeners? Like, who are you and what do you do? That kind of thing.
Okay, yeah. So, I'm 23 from Australia, like you said. Since I left high school, my life was kind of like a series of unfortunate events, especially in one year in particular. And it had quite strong effects on me, as in my mental health kind of spiraled. I ended up turning to unhealthy coping mechanisms. I developed an eating disorder and I had problems with alcohol and stuff like that. So I really hit rock bottom one day, and pretty much the past few years has just been building myself back up slowly and learning how to love and respect myself. So that's kind of my story. There's a lot to it, but that's kind of in a nutshell.
Amazing. It's again, that openness is so refreshing, and I know that so many people are going to listen to this and you're going to help so many people. Because similar to you, Katie, I had an eating disorder in a way, and a bit of a problem with alcohol as well. So I got made redundant in 2017, and I basically, to cope, I ate and ate and ate. And I put on 80 pounds in about 3 or 4 months, which is obviously quite a lot. And I drank a lot as well. And something that when I overcame those challenges, something I didn't realize at the time, but then realized, was the amount of people who are actually suffering as well. Because during those moments, you kind of think I'm alone, and that's why I'm coping in those different ways. And we'll definitely get into your journey as well. But have you found that as well, that that you've had that mindset shift, and now you're able to see all these other people who are in a similar position?
Yeah, exactly. For me, it was one of the things that had happened in that year was I had 2 consecutive abortions. And I dealt with a lot of mixed feelings about it, but a lot of anger and self-resentment, and I lost all my self-worth and self-respect. And it was hard because all I wanted was to find someone who was talking about it. And because when I went to the doctor about it, they told me that 1 in 3 women will have an abortion in her lifetime, but I couldn't find anyone talking about it. None of my friends or family, no one was open about it. And even on social media, I was struggling to find people talking about it. And I couldn't find celebrities or anything. And it just, I really did feel quite alone. And I was I just can't believe that statistic. If it's that common, how many other people are having to just battle through it when we're all in the same boat. So, yeah.
I think that that genre of topic is really stigmatized.
Yeah.
And, you know, things like abortion, things like miscarriages, things like even like IVF and trying to get pregnant the non-conventional route.
Yeah.
It's for some reason something that is not talked about, and it's something that is, it needs to be talked about. So, you know, take us back to 2019 then, if
Yeah.
that's where this journey started. Give us the context, if you will. Like, what was going on in that period before you hit rock bottom? What
Yeah.
was going on?
Yeah. Okay. So it was my first year out of high school. I was studying nursing at university and dating like my high school sweetheart. He was really nice. But then we broke up. I started going to CrossFit, this CrossFit gym with my mom and my sister, and I met someone there who was my ex, like in the end. But that's where I met him. We started seeing each other, but it was kind of a secret. And about 6 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. We were at like crossroads with what to do because he didn't want me to have it and I did want to have it. So we fought a lot. And in the end, like he won the battle and I did it. But at the time, I wasn't sure if I wanted to or not. But, you know, you don't really have like a lot of time to make up your mind. And I felt a lot of pressure on me. So that's what I did in the end. And like in retrospect, I'm grateful for like the choice, but also the decision. So after that, I went to Europe to get away from everything and just try to sort out my own head because I was so heartbroken. So when I came back home, I felt like alone because I was trying to find these people talking about it and no one was talking about it. So I did feel quite like sad, like I couldn't really share openly. So my ex asked to get back together and he made me think like I could talk to him and he would understand and all that. But I found out I was pregnant again shortly after that. I was like very shocked because I was on birth control both times. But it didn't occur to me at the time that because I had started like my eating disorder after the first abortion and I was bulimic. So I didn't connect the dots about the fact that it would mess with my birth control. And so I think that's how I ended up getting pregnant again. But it was, yeah, a huge shock. I wasn't sure what to do and we just fought and fought and fought. In the end, I had another termination and left my ex, but it was kind of, that was fully rock bottom for me. Like, because my eating disorder was worse, I was feeling even more alone and just, yeah, something was just wrong. And I just felt, I couldn't believe that, yeah, so many other people were out there experiencing similar things apparently, but like every day was hard for me because I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And at the time, I didn't really believe it because even though I was so sad and so heartbroken, I was still was like very grateful for my life, and I still appreciated my life, and I was happy, and I was grateful for like my supportive friends and family, and like I was very aware that I was blessed, even though it sucked and I was so sad. So yeah, that's kind of a bit about my story. It was uphill from there. It was just continuous work on trying to make myself feel better. At first it wasn't like a easy decision because I didn't like myself. So one day I just said like, look, I don't like you, but I want to respect you. And so just slowly started thinking, okay, like what can I do today to make myself feel better? Slowly, slowly, slowly. And it took years of like back and forth, up and down. But it finally got to a place sometime last year where I just forgave myself for it. I was just like, okay, like this is the past now. I have to move on. And I just decided to let it go and focus on just living my life. And like, I guess everything that I sacrificed, I don't want it to be like in vain, like the life that I could have had and like the children I could have had and stuff. I chose not to have them so that I can build this life.
Amazing. That is so amazing. And there's so much to unpack in that. There's I've got about 20 or 30 questions just for that little bit you just talked about.
It does sound like a movie, but it
does.
happened.
Absolutely, it does, yeah. And I guess I'm trying to just to do this kind of logically. So to
Yeah.
start kind of at the beginning, I guess, for those people who might be in the same position as you are, or were, excuse me, and were thinking about having an abortion, what was that thought process like, and how did you kind of deal with those emotions? Because I can imagine that there is a lot of people looking for that information, that
Yeah.
personal experience to say, you know, you're doing the right thing, or have you thought about this? This is what
Yeah.
I was thinking about. Yeah, what would you kind of say to those people?
Well, for me, it was a real battle between my head and my heart. And I know, like, for everyone, it's a very personal experience and everyone has their own reasons. And you don't, this is something I would say, like, you don't owe anyone an explanation for it. It's a decision that you are making for yourself. And it's either way, whatever you choose to do, you have to deal with the repercussions of that for like the rest of your life. So it's okay to it's okay to do it and be sad about it. It doesn't mean that you're making the wrong choice.
Yes.
Because yeah, I felt like I was selfish for making that choice and stuff, but it's actually not true. Like what would have been selfish was bringing a child into this world where I couldn't provide for it in the way that it needs. So you're not a bad person, and it's okay to make that decision.
Wow, that's such a powerful statement. Such a powerful statement, and you're so right. And
Thank
then
you.
if we kind of continue, was it at that point you went and started to go around Europe in between
Yeah,
the two
yeah,
relationships? Great. So at that point, you know, how did you? What was kind of you've mentioned kind of wanted to get away from it and things like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. What was that thought process like? Because again, there's probably some people who are like maybe introverts who are thinking, I'd love to do that, but I'm
Yeah,
introverted, I can't do it, I'm too scared, or, you
yeah,
know, that's a
no.
big jump. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I feel like that is how you grow is by doing those scary things and just trusting that it will work out because in my experience, it always has. So with that, I booked a plane ticket to London and got on
Wow.
the plane the next day. And then when I got there, I sorted
Wow.
out my hostel. I ended up meeting up with like a top date group, which is like they go around in like a bus. So we went all around Europe. That was mostly for safety reasons, because I was still young. I was 19, but yeah, it was. I didn't really take any photos, so I don't really have any photos of anything. In fact, yeah, when I got home, I broke my phone, which had all my photos on it, and I didn't back it all up anyway. But it's okay with me because I have the experience still and like the memories. But yeah, so in Europe, I pretty much just, I didn't really talk to anyone at home. I was there for just over a month and I just pretty much spent every
Wow.
day just soaking up different cultures and different languages and just trying to connect with people because even if I couldn't like speak their language and stuff, just being around people who I
Wow.
didn't know and stuff was like strangely comforting. I didn't need to talk to anyone. No one knew me. I didn't have to worry about
Oh,
like running into people I knew. I could just focus on myself and like what I wanted to do, like how to look after myself pretty much. Like, yeah. It was a really great
yeah.
experience, yeah.
That sounds amazing. And you've said two things that really jumped out at me there. The first one was the only way to grow is by doing scary stuff. Like I love that. Like that might be the title of this podcast. That is such a great sentence. I love that. And then the second thing was that whole, you know, like immersing yourself in different cultures. And, you know, I love the thought of you. This maybe didn't happen, but like sitting maybe in a cafe with a book,
Yeah.
you don't understand what anyone else is saying, they don't know what you're saying. And it's just like,
Yeah, it definitely did
I
happen.
would already feel relaxed thinking about
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's so amazing. And where did you go in Europe? So you went to London first, and then where did you kind of
I did.
explore?
I went to 14 different countries, so I'll try to remember them
Wow.
all. But I think it
Oh my
was.
goodness.
We went to Paris next, Switzerland, Germany, Austria, Poland,
Wow.
Amsterdam, Italy.
That is
Yeah, just we went, yeah, like lots of places. It was just beautiful. Prague. I honestly cried in every city though. It was fine. I remember crying on the streets because I was just walking around thinking like, this is so beautiful. I can't believe this is my life, and like, I was still like heartbroken, and I was like, I brought a journal with me because I've been keeping journals since I was 12.
wow.
So, and I'm very grateful that I started that practice young because it was a habit. So when I was going through it, I think it really helped me to just get my feelings down and write it down. So writing down all the thoughts that I was having in Europe was really nice as well, kind of like therapeutic for myself to be alone and just really like sit in the middle of nowhere surrounded by a whole new world and just focus on my thoughts and how I feel. It's something that I feel like it's harder to do. Like I wouldn't have been able to do that here.
It does. It sounds like bliss, and I'm
It
so
was.
pleased you were able to have that
I
experience. It
agree. Me
sounds
too.
amazing. So, because you've mentioned, I do want to stay on the kind of like the countries and the places you explored. But because you brought it up, the journaling thing. If
Mm.
somebody's new to journaling or doesn't do it, how do you approach journaling? And what does that process look like? And why? Yeah, kind of why do you do it? What are the benefits?
Yeah, I kind of write to my journal like I'm like writing to a friend. I think that's just because that's the way I've always done it. Like when I was 12, I kind of did it as a bit of a novelty because I thought it would be fun to be like, "Dear diary, today I ate pizza."
Yeah.
And so that's how it started for me. I just got in the habit of writing down like what I did that day, but also it evolved into like this is what happened today and like this is how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And then it just keep going on, and like it was really, really, yeah, just you can't really do it wrong. So if you're looking to start journaling, just start by writing down what's on your mind and how you feel. And I also think it's really important to practice gratitude. Like at the end of your journal, maybe spend 5 minutes writing about the things that you're really grateful for in your life or that day in particular. It's also really nice to read back on because you forget these things and then you can read back on them in a few years and you'll be like, oh, I remember that. That was awesome. So it's really you're doing yourself a favor in the future.
Yeah, I think it can be so transformational and so powerful. There was one story. I don't actually think I've ever told this story publicly yet, but my wife and I ran our own gym. We started our own gym basically about, well, how long was it? It was about 8 or 9 months before COVID started, and we was obviously we were so excited, and we started this gym, and I think we were 11 months in, and COVID hit, and in the UK everything kind of shut down and all that sort of stuff. And without boring you with the details, we lost that business mainly because of COVID, because of a few different things, but it wouldn't these things wouldn't have happened if COVID hadn't happened. And
Yeah.
anyway, basically, I personally had been really like blaming the world and blaming others and blaming myself a lot of the time around that
Mm.
failure, like we've talked about. And
Yeah.
I was in a really bad place, and I eventually reluctantly was like, you know what, I have journaled before, I'm going to journal on this. And I basically did something very similar where I wrote out like, I've this was the situation, this is how I feel. And I must have wrote about 10 or 11 pages worth, and I took it to my wife and I read it out loud to my wife. She was crying, I was crying. But when I closed the book, it was like a cleanse, and it was like, okay, I can stop letting that hold me back now, and I can move forward with whatever I'm going to go and do. So I think it can be so valuable. And did you find it was transformational as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. It gives you kind of the same feeling as like going for a swim in the ocean. Like
Yes.
you never close the book feeling worse.
Yeah.
It always helps clear your mind and get your thoughts down. It's yeah, and reading it out loud afterwards is amazing. I do it as well. Sometimes even just to myself in the mirror.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just reading those words out loud. You wouldn't like believe some of the things that your mind can just come up with when you've got that pen to paper.
Definitely, definitely. I love that phrase that you just said as well. The you never feel worse after closing the book. What a great phrase that is as well. You've got them all. They're so good, so powerful, powerful statements. I love it. So yeah, just so last kind of question about your trip and your travels and things. What would you say was the most impactful on you? As in, did you go to a certain country or a few countries and like take their practices back with you, or was it something you just dipped your toe into and then came back out of? What would you say, yeah, was the most impactful country or kind of traveling spell?
I'd say probably my favorite moment of the whole trip and one of my like epiphany moments was in Switzerland.
Okay.
I was kind of out in the countryside, in the middle of nowhere, really, in like this wooden cabinet. But I woke up really early before the sunrise and decided to go on a hike up this mountain.
Oh.
So I went up this mountain and there was this beautiful waterfall and the sunrise and all the colors in the sky. There was a rainbow, and that was kind of the moment I was like, wow, like life is good. Like there actually is things to, because prior to that, even though I was out of my country and stuff, I was still quite like seeing the world through like a really dark lens. But I was grateful, but it was still hard to see the beauty in life, and it was a bit like, what's the point? Like I really felt like, what's the point of doing this? I am so like over it, just life. It was too hard. And I didn't want to feel that way, but that's just how I felt. So I guess that moment, like watching that sunrise and like the way the air was so crisp and so beautiful, and I was just like alone completely in the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
And I was just like, okay, like life is actually beautiful. This world's wonderful.
Absolutely, it sounds incredible. Yeah, it
It
really
was
does.
honestly, it was like a
Does.
fairy tale.
So you've had incredible experiences of Europe. We get back on the plane, back to Oz, and then back into a relationship. And
Mm.
tell us about those emotions then. What happened there? Was it a case of kind of, okay, maybe, I'm in a different place, let's give this another
Yeah.
shot type of thing?
It was kind of a mix of that and also the fact that he was like, look, I've had lots of time to think about it. I was
Mm.
wrong. Like he started going to a therapist and proving that like he was changing and stuff like that. But it was not quite like that in reality. But it was a mix of that and the fact that I still felt like there were lots of things I still wanted to say about it, and things that maybe I could only say to him in the hopes that he would be the one who understood. But yeah, no, I was wrong. I had to learn the hard way about that one.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting topic as well that maybe doesn't get talked about enough in terms of dating the wrong people and or
Yeah,
being in certain relationships you shouldn't be, and that isn't just kind of boyfriend girlfriend relationships. That's friendships. That's
yeah,
family a
yeah,
lot of the time. And doing a self audit to figure out actually is this person good for me or not, no
yeah,
matter
exactly.
what type of relationship. It's so important. So
Yeah,
what was that thought process like? Because it sounds like you uh, are dating someone you're really pleased with at the moment, which is great.
yeah, yeah.
um,
My best friend.
yeah, well, yeah, absolutely, which is incredible that you've found that person. What would you say to Katie looking back now in terms of what you're looking out for or what to not look out for, if you like? What would you say to that person?
Yeah, I would say I know that you think that you are like worthless, but you're actually not, and you can't allow someone to treat you this way. It's about self-respect. You have to respect yourself enough. Like I know it's so hard. I think I was in a bit of a trauma bond situation, like, and the highs and lows were very like high and low.
Yeah,
It was hard to leave, especially that cycle was quite addicting.
yeah,
So it was it was rough. But if I could go back and just tell myself like it's not worth it. If someone has crossed your boundaries and disrespected you multiple times, especially, like it should be the first time they do it is the last. So
yes,
you have to respect yourself enough to put your peace of mind first and your inner peace first. And that doesn't mean don't forgive people, but for me, when I was like a few years down the track debating in my head whether I should forgive my ex or not, I realized, like, of course, because if I'm hating on someone or holding on to that negative energy, that's just doing myself a disservice. Like, people like don't care. He's not going to care if what I think about him or if I'm spending that energy hating. And I could just let it go, and whatever happens is between him and karma, not me. So all you can do is focus on yourself. Just if you're going to be with someone, if you're going to date someone who loves you and supports you. Otherwise, you're better alone.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you know, a question that I got asked whereby it was a work colleague actually who's majorly introverted, and it was a little while ago now, but I wonder if you have an interesting answer. It was about introverts in a relationship, and the question was, how do you deal with kind of being overpowered or suppressed by your partner? You're probably in a better place to answer that than I was. So, do you have any thoughts on that?
I guess, yeah, it just comes down to the self-worth again. You
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
if someone, yeah, makes you feel anything less than amazing, then they're not worth it. Like, it's just not worth your time. And there are people out there who will love and respect you and treat you right and proper. Like, yeah, you don't need to be with someone who's trying to control you or oppress you in any way. Like, there are people out there who will love and support you. So stick with them and look for them.
absolutely. Yeah, love that answer. You know, there's literally billions of people out there. There's no need to settle for that
Yeah.
situation. Like, you know, that there really isn't. So, you know, I think, yeah, definitely on the same page with that one.
Yeah.
You mentioned self-love a few times. You know, I think that really links into a lot of these topics that we're talking about. How do you define that self-love, or if someone's hearing that phrase for the first time, what does it mean?
I like to think about it like treat yourself like someone you're responsible for taking care of. But not only that, but I like to think about like my future daughter, if I had a daughter, or like my
Wow.
sister, or like the other females in my life. If I was to look after them, what would I do? Like, if I was living in their body or having their mind, how would I treat them? And you have to treat yourself the same way you would treat someone you love. And that's the trick. Even if you don't think you're worth it, you have to do it. And the process of doing it again and again, like, you'll learn that that's actually you're helping yourself, and you'll release a lot of anything that's holding you back from loving yourself. It will melt away when you realize that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah, love that phrase again. It's so good. This is so good. I love the thought of yeah, talk to yourself like you're talking like your daughter or
Yeah.
your sister.
Yeah, if you
That
wouldn't say it to
complete.
them, then don't say it to yourself. Don't even think it. If like the second I get a thought like that, I just shut it down immediately. Like, this is not serving anyone, especially me. And we're in control of a lot more than we think we are in terms of our mindset and our thoughts. I think even if it takes a long time and it's a process to like change your beliefs and your values and the way you think,
Yeah,
but you just have to do it, even if it feels ridiculous at first.
absolutely. And you know the other thing that I probably add to that, Katie, is if you aren't willing to say it out loud in a public place, you don't say it when it's behind closed doors in private. There's a reason that you can't say it if you're in public. There's a reason that you're a silver tongue if you're like inside the house or horrible in the house. And that might just be something, a red flag that you need to do some reflection on how you're talking to your partner perhaps, or approaching relationships. But yeah, I think that's so powerful. But let's move your journey on then. So we're back, and you've gone through that second abortion. What was the next stage in your journey?
I guess it was after that I actually stayed with my ex for a couple more months,
Okay.
mostly because, yeah, I just felt so low with myself and stuff. I just didn't have the self-worth to believe that I deserved
Wow.
better than the treatment I was getting. I was just like, I deserve this. So I really believed that. It took me a long time to realize that I didn't. But eventually I did leave and I moved in with my brother for a bit, which was great. We don't really talk a whole lot, but we lived together perfectly peacefully and it was fine, which was good. I got a lot of space, which I needed in the end.
Nice.
So after that, I actually got my own apartment and it was near the beach. So I could go to the beach every single day, go for a swim. And I dropped uni. I decided just to work full time and just every day pretty much I'd get up, I'd go to work. I was a barista at a cafe right on the beach. So it was lovely, beautiful. Got to watch the sunrise every day. And I'd work until like around midday, go home, go to the beach, go for a swim, maybe like go home and visit my dad and come home and journal. And I didn't have a TV or anything in that little studio apartment. I would just journal, and it was really healing. Like I'd go to the gym, do some yoga, it was, I was still bulimic for like some of the time. Like for the first few months of that, I was still struggling with that every day. It was a real battle and it was just really hard to stop it. I think it was just a habit and it was that psychological hurdle that you have to get over it's much harder than like physical.
Yeah. So, with regards to bulimia, is that something that you started to doing as a coping mechanism for the situation you were in? Yeah, that's how that kind of came about.
Yeah, I think it was because it wasn't about like looking a certain way because it never really bothered me. Like I was about 15 kilos heavier, but I liked my curves and I loved my body was fine in my opinion. Like I felt happy and healthy either way. So it wasn't something I was doing to look a certain way. I think it was more to like punish myself.
Wow.
Or I'm not really sure how it started, but it just started one day and I couldn't stop. It was very compulsive. So I guess it was an addiction. So it took like it was hard to get over it, but eventually like I did. And now I have a very healthy, happy relationship with my body and food.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's really amazing. And what are the steps to getting over bulimia for people again who might be in that situation? I think it'd be really valuable to hear from you.
I would definitely, first of all, I'd recommend getting psychological, like professional help. Because that's something I wish I had have done. It would have made the process a lot easier. But for me, it was like one step forward, two steps back. But it was just a slow process. Like you're probably going to relapse, and that's okay. You just have to forgive yourself. Because for me, I would be like, okay, like I've made it to like day 2. And then it would happen again. And then I'd be like, wow, why can't I do this? Or like I'd make it to a week and then it would happen. Or sometimes even a month and then it would happen again. And it would be like this is such a battle. But it does get easier. And I think as well, being around other people, like if you admit it to someone, if you talk about it to someone, like a loved one, it will make it a lot easier. So eventually I told my dad and he helped me, quite a lot. But I was living alone. So it was like harder to get over it, I guess, in that way because I was alone. But it was, just knowing he was like one text away and stuff was helpful.
No, absolutely.
Just be patient with yourself is pretty much my main advice. Be patient and kind to yourself because it's a journey.
They're both so hard though, aren't they? Patience and kindness to yourself.
Yeah. I totally agree. Yeah, I was the queen of like being impatient before, but I've definitely learned the value of patience.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite a bit older than you, but I am still learning to deal with patience. It's still I want things now, like. But
You're human.
That's really cool. Yeah, very true. Thank you. Yeah. So this story is, we're kind of coming back up now from the rock bottom, aren't we? We're like rebuilding things, and it's interesting that you dropped university at that point as well. What was the thought process there? Was it kind of like a change of ambition, or just I needed to reset completely, or what was the thought? Yeah, what did that look like?
Well, that year I'd actually switched to high school teaching.
Okay.
And then I just thought, like, none of this is for me. It wasn't fueling my passions and my ambitions, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do at all. But I knew I didn't want to wake up and be like, oh, I have to go to work. I want to wake up and be like, I can't wait to add value to the world in some way. And love what I do. I like making money is it's a byproduct of having a career that I love. So I'm still working on that now. I've only just recently really discovered what I want to do, but yeah, it's just a matter of like, for me, I felt completely lost in terms of career. So I just worked at a cafe for like 2 years while I was figuring it out, and I was trying lots of different things. I had done some mini courses and other things, but I wasn't sure. And then what helped me was really sitting down with myself, writing down my values and my passions, and figuring out ways I could kind of mesh them, what kind of careers
Wow.
would work with both of them.
Brilliant. Yeah, take us through that. That's really interesting. So yeah, so like you literally sat down, blank piece of paper, and then what were the next steps?
Yeah, I just got very clear. Like, I asked myself, what kind of life do I want to live? What does a day in the life kind of look like for me? What impact do I want to have on people? And like work from there, because like I said, I refuse to hate my job. I won't spend my time on this planet not loving my life.
Wow.
So
I'm
not willing to sacrifice my time or my energy for money. It's not a sacrifice if I'm doing something I love. So it's taken time to figure it out, but I think I'm on the right track now. I graduated last year as a PT.
Very cool.
But recently I've been a bit on the fence about if I even want to pursue that, because I've become really, like, since starting my social media account a few months ago, I don't have like a huge following or anything like that. But just sharing it publicly, I've gotten so much nice feedback and response from people, and so many messages, and I'm like, wow, okay, maybe like sharing my story and helping other people who are going through similar things, maybe that's actually what I want to do. So I made like a mindset ebook, and I posted it on my Instagram for anyone who wanted to access it. Just things that I thought like would help. What helped me, what I would have wanted to see a few years ago, kind of things like that around mindset and self-love and stuff like that. So I'm definitely like, I would love to have a career where I can create like courses and ebooks and stuff, and just help other people as much as I can.
Yeah, that sounds amazing, and it sounds like you're on a really, really good path, and I've no doubt you're going to help so many people.
Thank you so much.
It's interesting actually that there is still connections to that high school teacher, if you like, that the education and helping people, impacting people. And I definitely think the version that you're pursuing is better, by the way.
I think you'll have more of an impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think your work-life balance will be a lot better as well. So I think that's a really cool option. And I think the other thing is the whole social media thing. Yeah, it's obviously great if you've got a huge following. Obviously, it looks great and your reach is better. But the thing that I always think about is those individual. Imagine those people were sitting in a room, and you've got, say 20 likes on a post, or 50 or 100 or more, or etc. You'd be thinking, wow, this is a full room. And the impact you're already having after 2 months is insane. So yeah, I'm so excited to see what happens over the rest of 2024. But I don't want to get ahead of my questions, so I'm not going to let you talk about any of that yet. To change things up a little bit then, I saw one of your posts, which I really smiled at, because I've got a bit of this mindset. You talk about you're a bit woohoo.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So I'm a bit spiritual. Yeah. I love like astrology. I love like tarot cards, oracles, like all that kind of like meditating under the full moon kind of vibes, which is interesting because for a long time, like I knew I loved all that like crystals and stuff like that. I've always been like naturally drawn to that kind of like witchy stuff. But for a long time, because I'm also such like a logical thinker and stuff a lot of the time, I was like, how can I can't be both. But I realized like you can actually be as faceted as you want, and you can have as many different versions of your personality as you like. So I'm a bit of like a cross between listening to the universe for guidance and manifesting and like oracle cards and stuff. I'm a mix between like that, reading my horoscope kind of,
Yeah.
and also like breaking it down into logical steps and thinking clearly and thinking with my head instead of my heart sometimes. And yeah, it's a bit of a mix.
Yeah, but I think the thing is, it's allowed to be a mix, isn't it? It's allowed,
Exactly.
you're allowed to do these things. You don't have to be constricted so much. And the other side is, you don't, for people who are listening to this or even have heard about these things and gone, oh no, I would never do that. That's fine as well. You don't need to
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
anyone that you wouldn't, or hate
Exactly.
on anybody. Now I've heard of a few of those things, but the thing I haven't really heard of is the oracle cards. How do they work kind of in your life? Like, what do you use them for?
I don't actually have any personally, but
Okay.
one of my lovely coworkers, she does like women's meetups sometimes where she
Wow.
brings hers and we do like readings and we all paint art, and it's
Wow.
great because they're all like quite like witchy as well, and we all like kind of like dance under the moon and like have a great time. And like they're like older women in that group.
Sure.
I'm probably the youngest one, but I
Sure.
definitely feel like I fit in. It's great fun. So with like those kind of cards, the ones that she brought up for me, I think the first time we did a reading was just crazy because it really was like exactly what I'd been thinking myself like earlier.
Wow.
I remember driving home and like I had this voice in my head that said like I have to share my story. This was before I started my Instagram and all that, but I just had this voice that was like, you're just gonna have to be vulnerable and just do it. Like just you're just
Yeah.
gonna have to do it. And then I went to like one of our meetups a couple of weeks later, and the card that she pulled was about vulnerability and sharing and stuff, and like the impact of sharing and how
Wow.
like the angels are guiding you into like
Yeah.
letting you know that it's okay to open up and all that. And I was like, well, that's a sign. So I just love all that kind of stuff. For me, it always seems very like accurate.
You know what? I completely agree. And I think whatever kind of shape it presents itself at,
Yeah.
there's signs. You walk past someone having a conversation and you think, I was just thinking about that. That's a
Yeah.
sign. Or you feel it in your gut sometimes. Or Katie, there was the reason I actually started this podcast. I'd been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. A bit of imposter syndrome, a bit of fear, that sort of thing. And my wife, who's an introvert, we had a really great day at work, and she was kind of came skipping in the house. And basically during that day, I was like, I need to assign kind of similar. Like, is this the thing I need to do? Like, is it going to be a waste of time doing this podcast, or like that sort of thing? And anyway, she came skipping in the house, and she got a phone call, and the person on the other side, I could hear them talking, basically was like, you're always grumpy, you're always down, you're never in a good mood. But actually, she was in a great mood. She was an introvert. And I remember hearing that phone call, and I was like, that's my sign. Like, there's so many introverts who are being labeled in a certain way and being suppressed. I need to help. I need to help some of them if I can. So yeah, I think that sign, like, yeah, trying to see those signs is fascinating, and you've got to not ignore them. You've got to grasp them.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really like beautiful thing for you to do. Like put yourself out there and start something and be
Yeah.
brave and all that. That's really lovely for you to
Oh,
do
thanks,
that.
Katie. Thanks,
No,
Katie.
really, you're making a big impact.
One day, yeah, one person at a time. I always say, which is the
Well,
plan.
one person if you've impacted one person's life, you've changed like someone's entire life and their perspective. So
Exactly.
it's
No,
invaluable.
and as this episode will as well. And yeah, let's carry on then. So, at what point did kind of exercise, health and fitness, where did that come into your life?
I guess because so me and my sister we started CrossFit with my mum as
Okay.
like teenagers. So we were about 16 when we joined, maybe 17. And we
Wow.
did
Okay.
that up until I was about 19. So when me and my ex broke up, I quit CrossFit, and it was a bit expensive. There were a few other reasons
Yeah.
why I didn't necessarily want to go back anyway. So I just decided to give it a break for a while, and I was in my like probably my most depressive state at that time. So exercise would have been really good for me, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it, like get out of bed, and it was hard enough. So I kind of didn't really do much for a while. And then I joined a gym, and I started going to the gym as kind of a bit of like a sanctuary for me, even though I didn't really have any plans. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just kind of like spending time doing whatever was free and with no real goals, because again, I didn't have like aesthetic goals. I didn't have like athletic goals. I was just kind of there because I was like, well, this will probably help, and it did. So I ended up like feeling a lot better after the gym. I think not only just the exercise and what it does to your mindset as like building up resilience and stuff like that as well, but just being around like the community of people who, like, everyone at the gym is there to push themselves. And what I've found as well is like everyone at the gym is actually really supportive, and that kind of energy at the gym is like the same kind of energy in like a girl's bathroom at the club. It's like everyone's just there to have a good time and lift each other up and tell you like you look good and you're doing great, and it's just it's a really actual wholesome place. At least in my experience, it's been great. So it's been a really positive thing for my mental health.
That's amazing. Yeah, absolutely. And what type of things do you do in the gym? As in, like, do you have a certain goal? Are you more of a strength trainer, cardio?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Well, after a few months of not really knowing what I was doing, I kind of started getting a bit educated about what I was doing, listening to a lot of podcasts and reading and
Nice.
following Instagram accounts about it in my spare time. So I kind of started learning about it, getting into it a bit more at the gym. I'd say I train more like a bodybuilder. I have no intentions of competing. It's just that I don't quite like lifting heavy in particular. But that's another thing I've learned at the gym is you don't have to stick to something. You can try as many different styles of training as you like. You're literally there to feel good, so, and appreciate the fact that you can move your body freely, pain free, and like look after your body and stuff. So you can't do it wrong. Yeah, so just pretty much go and have a good time. So now I've graduated as a PT as well, a personal trainer. So I know about movements and stuff in a different way now, and I appreciate it in a different level. But it's still not my whole life. It's just exercise is just something that I really value and appreciate and love.
Definitely. What about, those, again, just bring it back to kind of like an introvert who might be listening, those who are like terrified of the gym. I'm too anxious, or I'm too worried about going to the gym. Did you have, I suppose you wouldn't have had that because you might have had confidence from your CrossFit days perhaps, but how did you approach that, or what would you say to those people who are like, I want to go, but nah, I'm too worried about it.
I see a lot of that now because I work at a gym reception. So I'm very comfortable in the gym. But I do see a lot of people coming and signing up, and they get nervous even when I say, okay, I just need to take a quick photo for your membership. And they start like getting panicky, or like they get nervous when I tag them in for the first time and show them around and all that. And like I always just like to remind people that no one knows what they're doing when they start. And it's okay to ask for help. The people there, some of them might look scary, but people aren't scary. People are nice. A lot of people are actually nice. And if they're mean to you, come and tell me. And I'll go and have a chat. Yeah, it's like I said, the same energy as a club bathroom. Everyone is really, really uplifting and positive. And if you're anxious, a little bit worried, my top tips would be bring earphones and listen to your music. Train with a friend, so come with a friend, or book in a session with a personal trainer, because they'll be able to give you the confidence with like correct form, and just someone being there makes you feel a lot like less intimidating, I guess. But just, yeah, don't let anyone make you feel intimidated at the gym. Everyone's there for themselves, and really everyone is just focused on themselves. Like, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And I think sometimes we overthink it so much. Actually, a lot of the people who you're intimidated by are probably thinking the same the other way. As
Yeah.
in, they're probably feeling a little self-conscious. They are maybe nervous. Maybe they're new to this gym. They actually would love you to say hello, but
Yeah.
and vice versa. So I think it's a fascinating place, and something I still kind of do whenever I started going to a new gym. I always walk the entire gym. So I know, like, right, where's every machine I want to go on, where's every barbell, or that type of thing. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's kind of like how I anchor myself going to a new place. And I'm like, right, okay, I know what's not just the gym, I'm like, I know what's going on here, and I'm a bit more comfortable and calm.
Yeah.
So I think getting those tips and tricks really help you getting into the gym. And that's useful. So, how is, I know you're saying your career as a personal trainer, you might go a different direction. How have you found, kind of graduating as a PT and maybe working with clients and those sorts of things? How's that kind of going for you?
Oh, it's been like wonderful. The actual PT training that I did was great because it was on campus 4 days a week. So I spent a lot of
Wow.
time with my like fellow students, and they were the best group of people. So we had such a good time, and I made like really lifelong friends in that group. They taught me a lot of vulnerability and stuff because a lot of people in that course were very open about their own struggles, and I think especially in the health and fitness industry, a lot of people have struggles that tend to overlap, like issues with like confidence or body dysmorphia, eating disorders, and stuff like that is very prevalent in that field. So being around people who understood like those kinds of feelings was, and not only that, people who were willing to talk about it helped me talk about it. So they definitely inspired me. And then after I graduated from there, I did some work as a group fitness instructor for a bit, which
Right.
was lovely. Again, I made some really, really lovely people. Like I met some great people there and had a great time. But
That's
yeah, I ended up
awesome.
moving house, so I had to leave that job and now I just work at the reception. But I do feel like things happen for me, not to me. So every time life kind of takes me on a bit of a detour, I just trust that it is working out, and yeah, don't really think anything can go wrong.
Yeah, I had a whole another section all lined up to dive into, Kate, but you have said the phrase, one of my favorite phrases, in that this is happening for me, not to me.
I love
What
it
do you
too.
mean by that? I love that phrase, and what that is. What do you see that as meaning?
I guess it's sometimes like we can't control what happens to us a lot of the time, but you can control the way that you choose to see it. So instead of seeing these things as like, why is this happening to me? Because it's easy to fall into that mindset of like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Why is this happening? You can actually think of it as an obstacle that you're overcoming, and it's growing character for you and building your resilience and your relationship with yourself, and it's an opportunity for growth and evolvement. It's not something that you should be scared of at all.
Absolutely, Kate. I know you are going to be. You need to be keeping doing what you're doing. This is absolutely amazing stuff. I love.
Thank
Could
you.
listen to you all day. Like that is. It's so powerful, and you're so right as well. And the amount of people are here who are just like, oh, I'm a victim. I'm in such this situation. I've got someone in my family who has worked at the same place for 40 years, same place, literally same job, never got promoted, same people. They've hated it for 40 years. And every day after work, we hear them, oh, I'll hate my job. It's a terrible place to work. I'm so depressed. I'm sad. But you have the power to change all of that if you wanted to. But it's all about that, having that open mind, that growth mindset, which is so important.
It doesn't need to be normal, like normalized to hate your job and
Yeah,
stuff. And I know it is
yeah,
in this society, and the hustle is like praised, but it shouldn't be
yeah,
like that. We should be admiring strength and vulnerability and resting and slowing down and respecting
absolutely,
ourselves and others. And
yeah,
yeah, I totally agree.
absolutely, yeah,
You have more say and more power in your life than you think you do with these choices that like
mm,
you're choosing to go to that job. And I know you have to make money and stuff like that, but even if it takes a few years to make a career change into
mm.
something that you actually love and stuff, it's worth it because this is your life.
It's so refreshing. It's so good. Something that I'm definitely not an expert on, but I think you could really help with some people here. You talk a bit about things like understanding your hormones
Yeah.
better. And also you talk about like your self-care routine a lot, which I think are both really important. Tell me a little bit about those things, either separately or combined, when it comes to like your understanding your hormones and how someone can understand their hormones better,
Yeah,
and
oh, I love this.
how that kind of translates into what you've become.
Yeah, sure. So, pretty much after my second termination, I had the Marina IUD for a bit because I really didn't want to get pregnant ever again. Like again, for well,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
one day I'd love to be a mum, but not anytime soon. So I had the IUD for a bit. It ended up dislodging itself, which I thought, okay, well, this is a sign from the universe. I'm not meant to be on birth control. So I
Right.
remember going to the doctor and saying, like, look, none of this is working for me, clearly. I was also incredibly moody and I was dealing with hormonal acne and all sorts of other things. And it was just my hormones were in a complete state of mess. And I was like, okay, I want to be on birth control, but I don't want to be taking hormones. Like, what are my options? And they pretty much said, like, you don't really have any. And I just refused to accept that. So I was just like, okay, no, there must be. So I went online and I did a lot of research and I came across the fertility awareness method of birth control, which is where you take your temperature at the same time every day and you can track it on a graph. So you can see like when you ovulate in your cycle. And I did a whole bunch of research about hormones, like what kind of different hormones are most predominant at different phases in your cycle and how you can expect to feel during these times and what your body needs at certain phases and stuff. So I take my temperature every morning. It's been about 2 years now of using this method of birth control, which is it's been great because now I'm completely hormone free. Like my body produces natural hormones. I have a happy, healthy cycle, which is something I never had. And not only that, now I have like such a deeper understanding of my body and my psychology at different phases when before like this is not really something that we're taught, not only like as women but like in general. Like you're not really taught at school like much about the different phases, let alone how to feel, how to look after yourself during these like phases. You're just told you could get pregnant at any time and that's just not the truth. So it made me quite upset at first. I was angry that I had to learn these things as a grown woman, and I was just so mad that this information wasn't widely available or accepted. And I think it helped me a lot with self-trust as well, was tracking my cycle and being able to see my body, because I had like a bit of paranoia after my pregnancies. Like I used to take pregnancy tests like every day. And it was bad. It was like a really, really bad, like, again, probably a compulsive addiction. I was just, I couldn't believe, like, I would see a negative test and I couldn't believe it. And I would just take test after test after test, like, every day. And it cost me probably thousands. But it was something I needed for my peace of mind. So for some reason, like, I just needed that. So, because I just never trusted that I wasn't pregnant. And because I was just in such shock the first few times. Like, I didn't trust my body anymore. And when I got my periods, I didn't trust it. And I didn't believe that it was possible. So when I became like very educated about my cycle and my body, I became very like empowered. And now that I'm dating my partner, he's the most lovely man in the world. He's very supportive and understanding, especially about this, because I remember telling him that I wanted to like get off birth control and like start tracking my cycle and stuff. And he was maybe a little nervous at first, but he was very supportive. Like he was like, babe, I trust you. You're going to be fine. Like you got this. And just having someone in your corner, just like who fully trusts you and your ability to know your body and stuff it was just game changing and really, really nice to have that support, because I know lots of people don't really have that. But yeah, it was really nice to just be with someone who like respects what I want for myself.
Sounds amazing, yeah, and it sounds exactly how it should be, which is brilliant. Yeah, I'm so pleased for you. And you've talked about just there you feeling more empowered because
Yeah.
of this. Why is that? Is it because you've taken full control, or why do you
Yeah.
feel more empowered?
I guess it's a mix of the fact that I feel in control now, but also the education that I have now that I didn't have before, because that was like just the things that happen in these different phases of the cycle and stuff are just so significant. And when you learn about them, it all makes sense. But before, when you don't know, you just get frustrated with yourself. Like, I feel like, especially as a woman at the gym, like if you're lifting weights and stuff, there are certain weeks where you're going to feel a lot weaker than the week before.
Yes.
And I feel like I see a lot of women beat themselves up about it. Like, oh my gosh, why can't I lift this? I was lifting this last week. And they get like angry at themselves, or taking their weight down every week and getting frustrated that they're not losing weight in like a linear way, when your hormones in your body is just, it's a cycle. It's going to change. And without that education and understanding that that's how it is, you get frustrated when you don't see like linear progress like a man could maybe do. But it's completely different for women, but we're just not taught about it. We're just like prescribed birth control as a band-aid for any kind of symptom. Yeah. And it's just, it shouldn't be like that. And I'm not anti-birth control or anything like that. I'm pro-information. Yes. And I think that before being on birth control, you should be really sat down and you should educate yourself about like the side effects and the risks and other options that maybe would work for you better. And I'm not against trying it or anything like that and doing what works for you, but I feel like there's a big gap there with that information not really being out there in the public.
Absolutely. I worked as a personal trainer a few years ago, and you're absolutely right. Those challenges that women have at certain points during their cycle are so frustrating, and that can wreck your day, it can wreck your week, it can wreck your month, because it's important to feel like you're progressing. It's a basic human need, and if you aren't, you're gonna get in your head, and you might go and eat all that ice cream you were trying to avoid, or whatever you were doing. So yeah, I think really, really great information, some more nuggets there, which is so helpful. But I'm conscious of the time, Katie. I want to be respectful of your time. So the next little question, I guess, would be what's next? What's coming up for Katie? What is the rest of 2024 looking like and beyond? What's next?
Well, I feel like just in recent months, I've really made all these breakthroughs in terms of my mindset. So I feel like I'm kind of just starting out on like a bit of a blank canvas, which is lovely, having that freedom and the choice of being able to do what I want with my life. It's very much, I feel very like privileged to have those choices. And the future that I'm creating for myself, I'm excited about. I would love to write like ebooks. Or like just physical books. Even if someone would publish, then that would be great. I would love to host like workshops with other women. Hopefully one day retreats where we can just like do some deep healing and mindset work. And I'd love to start a podcast and kind of just grow my social media and just kind of just share and get as many people on this like self-love wagon as I can, because I just feel like, I remember feeling so alone, and I just can't imagine all the other people out there in the world who feel that way as well. I just wish that I could get everyone together and just let them know that they're actually not alone. People go through these kinds of things all the time, and we are all together.
I think that sounds amazing. And well, I'll have to come over to Australia and we'll have to do a retreat or a meet up or something.
Please do. I'll take you to all the best beaches.
Yes, that sounds good. Although I need a lot of sun cream.
It's okay, so do I.
And Katie, if people want to find out more about you, what you do, and follow you on all your platforms, where is the best place for them to come and find you?
I would say my Instagram is probably the number one place you would find me. It's just at Katie Goronski. I also have a TikTok, but I don't really use it as much as I would like to, so I should probably get on there. But yeah, definitely on Instagram is where I put most of like my updates and my posts and stuff. So if you'd like to connect with me, my DMs are always open as well. Feel free to flick me a message. So I'm just, always happy to hear from other people and hear your stories. Yeah, be supportive of your journey and stuff. I'd love to help and just be there.
Amazing. Katie, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. I think we're going to have to do a part 2 at some point. There's still so many things I want to ask you.
I would be honoured. Thank you. I'd love that.
No, for sure. I've taken so much away from it. I know everybody will have who's been listening. You've got some real knowledge and information, and yeah, it's so important to keep pushing that out to the world because you're going to help so many people. So yeah, I really thank you for your time.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure, and I feel very grateful to have the opportunity to kind of share and open up. And thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. And everybody listening, thank you so much for tuning in to the Unstoppable Introvert Project. And again, a huge thank you to Katie for being so open and honest and sharing her amazing story. And introverts, remember, your introversion isn't the thing that will hold you back. It is the thing that will allow you to become the best version of yourself. So until next time, stay unstoppable.